previous episode, we discussed the framers of the Constitution, historic names during that time, expanded on the Congressional Convention, and introduced the Electoral College. This is our third and final episode of the Origins of the U.S. Government series. In this episode, we will conclude and explain our position on what we think as naturalized citizens about the U.S. government. We will cover and discuss one of the most sensitive, heated topics throughout history: slavery. Welcome to the Naturalized Patriot Show. In this show, you will hear the perspective of America through the eyes of a naturalized citizen. You will get to interact with us through a series of questions and give your opinion about these topics in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Also donate if you want to see more content like this video. Without further ado, let's begin. Slavery was another contentious matter. Now, let me make something very clear right now, that in no way I support slavery, nor I have ever supported that evil practice. Despite the fact back then that several northern states had begun to ban slavery, they agreed with the southern states that slavery was a matter for individual states to determine and should be kept out of the Constitution. Many northern states feared that the South would not join the Union until they agreed to this. Enslaved individuals were counted as 3/5 of a person for the purposes of taxes and determining how many representatives the state might send to Congress. Additionally, states were obligated to return runaway enslaved persons to their owners, and Congress was not empowered to outlaw the slave trade before 1808 by Jim Crow law enacted by the Democratic Party. The laws on slavery were plain wrong, and such a gross violation of human rights should not have happened, and is perhaps one of the biggest tragedies in human history. By September of 1787, the Convention's Committee of Five had completed the final text of the Constitution, which totaled 4,200 words. George Washington was the first to sign the document on September 17th. Only 39 of the 55 delegates signed the declaration. Several had already departed Philadelphia, and 3 delegates, George Mason, Edmund Randolph, and Elbridge Gerry of Massachusetts, refused to sign. The Constitution needed to be approved by 9 of the 13 states in order to become law. With the help of John Hay, James Madison, and Alexander Hamilton, prepared a series of writings to urge Americans to approve the Constitution. The 85 articles, collectively known as the Federalists, or the Federalist Papers, explained how the new government would function and were published in newspapers across the country beginning in the fall of 1787 under the pseudonym Pluvius, Latin for public. Those who supported the Constitution were known as the Federalists, while those who opposed it because they believed it gave the national government too much authority were known as the Anti-Federalists. 5 states ratified the Constitution in fast succession starting on December 7 of 1787: Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Georgia, and Connecticut. Other states, particularly Massachusetts, were hostile to the treaty because it did not reserve undelegated authorities to the states and did not provide constitutional protection for essential political rights like freedom of speech, religion, and the press. These states were aware of the English tradition of suppressing speech, and they could not allow their country to be run by the same principles as the English. A compromise was reached in February of 1787, in which Massachusetts and other states agreed to ratify the agreement on the condition that revisions would be offered quickly. Massachusetts was the first state to ratify the Constitution, followed by Maryland and South Carolina. Now, New Hampshire became the 9th state to ratify the document on June 21st of 1788, and it was decided that governance under the United States Constitution would commence on March the 4th of 1789. On April 30th of 1789, George Washington was sworn in as America's first president. Virginia ratified the Constitution in June of that year, while New York did so in July. The United States Supreme Court had its first session on February 2nd of 1790, marking the official start of the government. Later, the Bill of Rights was added to the Constitution. This bill set the tone and standards for which the United States is known all around the world. It's been more than 200 years since the Constitution was created. The country has grown into a global superpower, and throughout all these twists and turns, this document has endured and adapted. Now, It might not be the most perfect document in the world, but it still stands as a beacon of light against the darkness of authoritarian regimes and ideologies. The government that was formed following the creation of this government was enforced to protect the rights of the people that had chosen it, and it was made binding on them to safeguard civil liberties. Such was the impact of the US Constitution that countries like Australia, Canada, West Germany, Switzerland, and Yugoslavia, and most recently Nigeria, adopted a similar constitution. So, that is all the time we have today. Slavery is long gone, but there are still wandering effects of such evil practice. Do you think the Democratic Party still imposing a modern type of slavery? What about the Republican Party? The US government might not be the most efficient or the most proactive, but the one thing that it is the best at is that it stands by the protection of human rights and democracy, an ideology that is lost on many Eastern powers. It truly is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. However, in recent times, polarizing views have once again reared their ugly head as both Republicans and Democrats seem hell-bent on pursuing their own agendas without regard for any human rights. Are they forgetting how they got so much power? Have they forgotten who they represent? The positive influence of the central government has decayed, and it no longer stands for the unifying force it once was. Only time will tell if the federal government truly stands by the principles that the United States was founded on. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel and do hit the bell icon on your way out. See y'all next time.